Kemi had lived in Seoul, South Korea, all her life. She knew the sound of the subway before she knew how to read. She loved the smell of warm bread from the small shops near her home. She spoke Korean like a native, laughed at Korean jokes, and knew every corner of the neighborhood where she had grown up. But Kemi's life had not always been hard. When she was very young, she had a loving Korean mother who filled their small home with music, warm food, and laughter. Her father loved them both deeply. Then, one sad winter, her mother died. Kemi was still too young to understand why her mother's shoes remained beside the door for weeks. She kept waiting for her mother to return. Her father tried to stay strong for her. Years later, he met Rita, a black woman who had moved to Korea many years earlier. Rita was kind to him at first. She smiled at Kemi. She cooked for the family. She told Kemi that she would always have a mother. Kemi believed her. Then her father died too. Everything changed. Rita stopped pretending. She had a daughter of her own, and although the girl was 8 years younger than Kemi, Rita treated her like a princess. Kemi became the person who cleaned the house, cooked the meals, washed clothes, and ran errands. Still, Kemi never stopped being kind. She believed that kindness was something her mother had left behind for her. But one rainy evening, Rita called Kemi into the living room. "Kemi," she said coldly. Kemi looked up. "Yes." Rita placed an envelope on the table. "There is a man who needs a wife." Kemi frowned. "A wife?" "Yes." "Why are you telling me?" Rita pushed the envelope toward her. "Because I have already agreed." Kemi slowly opened it. Inside was $50. Her eyes widened. "What's this?" "Your price." Kemi stared at Rita. "My price?" Rita sighed. "Don't make this difficult. The man is poor. He is blind. He needs someone to help him at home. You need a place to live." Kemi's fingers trembled. "You sold me." Rita looked away. "I did what I had to do." Kemi felt something inside her break. She had lost her mother. She had lost her father. Now she had lost the last place she called home. But she did not know that the poor blind man waiting for her was not poor at all. His name was Xavier Lee, and the life he was about to share with Kemi would change both of them forever. The next morning, Kemi stood outside a quiet apartment building with one small suitcase. Rain fell softly around her. She kept remembering the $50 on the table. She stood still, because she knew that she was more than that. And it reminded her of the day she learned that someone could put a price on a person's heart. She climbed the stairs. At the top, she stopped before a gray door. Her heart beat quickly. She knocked. Once. Twice. The door opened. A tall Korean man stood there. He wore a simple gray sweater and black trousers. Dark glasses covered his eyes. His face was calm. "Are you Kemi?" She nodded. "Yes. I'm Xavier." His voice was gentle. Kemi expected anger. She expected coldness. Instead, he stepped aside. "Come in. You must be tired." Kemi entered. She looked around. The apartment was simple but beautiful. There was a small dining table near the window. A couch. A kitchen. A bedroom door. Nothing looked expensive. Xavier closed the door. Then he asked quietly, "Did Rita explain everything?" Kemi looked at the floor. "She said you needed someone to take care of you." Xavier was silent. "And she said I would be your wife." Kemi swallowed. "She said you paid her $50. Xavier's face changed. For the first time, he looked uncomfortable. "I did not pay $50 for you." Kemi looked up. "Then why did she show me $50? "I don't know." He reached into his pocket and pulled out a phone. "I paid Rita for your living expenses for 6 months. I thought she would use the money to help you." Kemi stared at him. He continued, "I might be blind, but I love helping with the little I have. I heard of how you are being treated." She looked down sadly. "She told you I agreed?" "Yes." Kemi laughed sadly. "I never agreed." Xavier became very still. "I'm sorry." Those 2 words surprised her. He did not defend himself. He did not blame her. He simply apologized. "I should have spoken to you directly," he said. Kemi looked at his covered eyes. "Can I leave?" "Yes." The answer came immediately. "You can leave whenever you want." Kemi blinked. "But Rita said..." "I don't care what Rita said. Xavier walked toward the kitchen. You are not a prisoner here. Kemi watched him. Something about his voice felt different. Safe. But safety was difficult for Kemi to trust. She had trusted Rita once. She had trusted her father to live forever. She had trusted life to be fair. Life had taught her otherwise. I have nowhere to go, Kemi whispered. Xavier stopped. Then he said, then stay until you find somewhere. Kemi looked at him. As what? As Kemi. She did not understand why those words made her eyes fill with tears. No one had said them to her before. Just Kemi. Not servant. Not burden. Not someone's stepdaughter. Just Kemi. And that was how their strange new life began. Neither of them knew that the little apartment was only a small part of Xavier's world. Neither did Kemi know that the quiet man beside her owned one of the largest technology companies in South Korea. Xavier Lee was one of the richest men in the country. He had simply chosen to live quietly for a while. He had become tired of people loving his money before they ever learned his heart. So he hid his wealth. He even pretended that his eyesight was worse than it really was. He could see. But he wanted to understand people without the power of his name standing between them. And Kemi was the first person who treated him like an ordinary man. She did not ask about money. She did not flatter him. She did not care about status. She only cared about being treated with respect. That was exactly what Xavier had been looking for. He just did not know how deeply he would fall for her. The next morning, Kemi woke before sunrise. For years, she had learned to wake early. She went into the kitchen and began making breakfast. Rice, eggs, soup. She placed the food on the table. When Xavier entered, he stopped. What are you doing? Breakfast. You don't have to cook. I know. Then why are you? Kemi shrugged. I like cooking. Xavier smiled. It was the first time she saw his real smile. Thank you. They sat together. Kemi watched him carefully. He moved slowly because of his cane. She noticed something strange. He never bumped into anything. Not once. She wondered about it, but said nothing. After breakfast, Xavier asked, What do you like? Kemi looked confused. What do you mean? Food. Music. Places. Things you want to do. She stared at him. Nobody had asked her that question in years. I like painting. Really? She nodded. I used to paint with my mother. Xavier smiled. Then paint. I don't have supplies. We can buy some. No. Why? I can't afford them. I can. Kemi looked uncomfortable. I don't want your money. Xavier nodded. Then consider it a gift. I don't want gifts. He smiled again. You're difficult. Kemi almost smiled. So are you. For a moment, the apartment became quiet. Then they both laughed. It was a small laugh. But it was the first warm sound Kemi had heard in that home. Days passed. Kemi began to settle into the apartment. Xavier never ordered her around. He never treated her like a wife he owned. Instead, he treated her like a friend. They watched television together. They cooked together. They walked through the neighborhood. Kemi described the colors of flowers to Xavier. Xavier listened carefully. One afternoon, they stood near the Han River. The sun was beginning to set. The sky is pink, Kemi said. Pink. And orange. Is it beautiful? Very. What does it remind you of? Kemi thought for a moment. My mother. Xavier's smile disappeared. Why? She loved sunsets. Kemi looked across the river. She used to say that every sunset was proof that even a difficult day could end beautifully. Xavier was quiet. Then he said, Your mother sounds wise. She was. Kemi smiled sadly. I miss her. Xavier reached out. He did not touch her. He simply held his hand near hers. Can I? Kemi looked at his hand. Then she placed her fingers in his. Yes. They stood that way for a long time. Neither spoke. But something changed. A small connection began to grow. It was not loud. It was not dramatic. It was gentle. Like sunlight entering a room through a curtain. Kemi began to feel safe. And Xavier began to feel something he had spent years avoiding. Love. But he was afraid to tell her. Because he still had one truth she did not know. He was not poor. He was not helpless. And he was not truly blind. One evening, Kemi returned from the market and found Xavier sitting alone. His glasses were on the table. Kemi stopped. For 1 second, she saw his eyes. Clear. Focused. Watching her. She froze. Xavier quickly put his glasses back on. Kemi? She said nothing. Are you there? Kemi slowly nodded. Yes. He turned toward her. I thought I heard you. Kemi forced a smile. I just came home. She walked into the kitchen. Her heart was racing. She had seen his eyes. She knew what she saw. But she did not confront him. Instead, she began preparing dinner. She wanted to understand him first. Later that night, Xavier stood outside her bedroom door. Kemi? Yes. Are you angry with me? She looked at him. Why would I be? He paused. I don't know. She smiled softly. I'm not angry. Good. He started to leave. Then Kemi asked Xavier. He stopped. Yes. Do you trust me? His heart tightened. Yes. Then someday tell me everything. Xavier stood silently. I will. Kemi smiled. Good night. Good night. He closed the door. Then he leaned against the wall. He knew the day was coming. The day when Kemi would discover who he really was. And he feared losing her. Meanwhile, Rita was becoming impatient. She had expected Kemi to complain. Instead, Kemi had stopped coming home. Rita wanted more money. She called Xavier. You promised to take care of her. I am. I want more. Xavier's voice became cold. You already received money. I need money for my daughter. That is not my responsibility. Rita became angry. Don't forget how you got Kemi. Xavier became silent. Then he said, I haven't forgotten. He ended the call. Kemi had overheard part of the conversation. She walked into the room. Was that Rita? Yes. What did she want? Money. Kemi sighed. She always wants money. Xavier looked at her. Do you want to go back? Kemi shook her head. No. Are you sure? Yes. Why? Kemi looked around the apartment. Because this is the first place where I feel like I can breathe. Xavier's heart almost stopped. He wanted to tell her everything. Instead, he said, then stay. Kemi smiled. I will. Their days became warmer. Kemi painted again. Xavier listened to music beside her. She painted flowers. Then the river. Then the apartment. One day, she painted Xavier. She painted him sitting beside the window with his glasses on. When she finished, she showed him. What do you think? He touched the paper carefully. I love it. You haven't seen it. I can feel that it's beautiful. Kemi laughed. You're strange. Maybe. She smiled. Thank you. For what? For making me want to dream again. Xavier looked at her. You did that yourself. Kemi shook her head. No. She touched the painting. You reminded me that I could. That night, Xavier could not sleep. He realized something. He had entered Kemi's life pretending to be someone else. But she had entered his heart as herself. And that made the truth harder. A week later, Xavier took Kemi to a small restaurant. It was quiet and warm. Kemi looked around. I've never been here. I thought you might like it. They ate together. Kemi smiled throughout the meal. Then a man walked into the restaurant. He saw Xavier. He immediately bowed. Mr. Lee. Kemi froze. Xavier became still. The man looked at Kemi. Then back at Xavier. Sir, your meeting is tomorrow at 9. Xavier nodded. Thank you. The man left. Kemi stared at Xavier. Mr. Lee? Xavier took a slow breath. Yes. Is that your real name? Yes. Are you really blind? Silence. Xavier removed his glasses. He looked directly into her eyes. Kemi's heart stopped. She was not shocked because he could see. She was shocked because he looked afraid. I can see, he whispered. Kemi said nothing. I should have told you. She looked down. Why didn't you? Because I wanted someone to know me before knowing my money. Kemi looked at him again. Are you rich? Yes. How rich? Xavier smiled sadly. Very. Kemi almost laughed. How very? I only group. Kemi's mouth fell open. She knew Lee Group. Everyone in Korea knew Lee Group. Technology. Hotels. Restaurants. Real estate. fashion, investments. It was one of the biggest companies in the country. You, Xavier nodded. Me, Kemi covered her face. You are not poor. No. You are not blind. No. She stared at him. Then why did you let me believe all that? Because I was afraid. Of what? Of being loved for the wrong reason. Kemi became quiet. Xavier reached across the table. I am sorry. She looked at his hand. Then she placed hers over it. I don't care about your money. I know. How? Because you had many chances to ask for it. Kemi smiled. That's true. They both laughed. The tension disappeared. Xavier looked into her eyes. I want to tell you something else. What? I didn't fall in love with you because you cooked for me. Kemi smiled. I hope not. I fell in love with the way you care. Her smile faded. I fell in love with your kindness. Her eyes filled with tears. I fell in love with the way you described the sky. A tear slipped down her cheek. And I fell in love with you before I even realized it. Kemi looked at him. I think I fell in love with you too. Xavier smiled. He gently wiped her tear. Then can we start again? Kemi nodded. Yes. No lies. No lies. And no $50. Kemi laughed through her tears. Definitely no $50. They left the restaurant holding hands. But the story was not over. Because the next morning, Kemi woke up to find a large black car waiting outside the apartment. A woman in an elegant suit stood beside it. Miss Kemi? Yes. I have been sent by Mr. Lee. Kemi looked confused. Why? The woman smiled. He wants you to see your new home. My new home? Yes. Kemi found herself staring at the enormous building. Then Xavier appeared behind her. He was wearing a dark suit. No cane. No glasses. No disguise. Kemi looked at him. You look different. He smiled. Do you like it? She laughed. I don't know yet. He reached for her hand. Come with me. Kemi looked at the building. Then at Xavier. She had spent her life being told what she was worth. $50. A servant. A burden. Someone easy to forget. But Xavier had taught her something different. Her worth could never be measured by money. And as they walked toward the grand entrance together, Kemi felt something she had not felt since childhood. Hope. She did not know what waited inside. She did not know what new challenges would come. She did not know how Rita would react when she discovered the truth. And she certainly did not know that Xavier had prepared something inside that would bring her face to face with a beautiful part of her past. But for the first time in her life, Kemi was not walking into the unknown alone. She was holding the hand of the man she loved. And whatever came next, they would face it together. Kemi slowly looked around. She had seen beautiful places on television. She had seen pictures of palaces online. But nothing had prepared her for this. The house was huge. The floor was made of smooth white stone. Large windows filled the walls, allowing sunlight to enter. Beautiful flowers stood in tall glass vases. There were paintings on the walls, soft lights hanging from the ceiling, and a staircase that looked like something from a fairy tale. Kemi turned toward Xavier. You live here? Xavier smiled. I do. You call this a home? Yes. Kemi shook her head. This looks like a hotel. Xavier laughed. I was worried you might say that. She walked slowly across the room. Then she stopped beside a large painting. She stared at it. It showed a young Korean woman standing beside a little girl. Kemi's heart suddenly became still. The little girl looked familiar. Very familiar. She moved closer. Her hands began to shake. Xavier. He walked toward her. What is it? Kemi pointed at the painting. Who is she? Xavier looked at the painting. I don't know. Kemi looked at him. What do you mean you don't know? It was already here when I bought the house. She stared at the painting again. The woman had the same gentle smile her mother used to have. The same eyes. The same small flower-shaped necklace. Kemi touched her chest. My mother had a necklace like that. Xavier looked surprised. Are you sure? Kemi nodded. Very sure. She stepped closer. For a moment, she forgot where she was. She remembered her childhood. Her mother's warm hands. Her soft voice. The smell of her perfume. The way she used to sing while cooking. Then the memories disappeared as quickly as they had come. Kemi wiped her eyes. I miss her. Xavier gently held her hand. I know. She looked at him. How do you always know what to say? I don't. He smiled. Sometimes I just know when to stay quiet. Kemi leaned against him. For a few moments, neither of them spoke. Then Xavier slowly pulled away. Kemi. Yes. There is something else I want to show you. He took her hand and led her toward another room. The room was filled with beautiful flowers. White roses. Pink roses. Cream roses. They were everywhere. Kemi's eyes widened. Why are there so many flowers? Xavier smiled. Because I wanted today to be special. She looked at him. What is today? He reached into his pocket. Kemi's heart began to beat faster. Xavier slowly lowered himself onto one knee. Kemi covered her mouth. Xavier. He opened a small black box. Inside was a ring. Kemi had never seen anything like it. The diamond was enormous. It sparkled under the lights like a tiny star. But it was not the size that made Kemi speechless. It was the way Xavier looked at her. There was no pride in his face. No desire to show off. Only love. Kemi, he said softly. You came into my life when I had stopped believing that people could love me without knowing my name. Kemi's eyes filled with tears. You saw a poor blind man. He smiled. You never cared about my money. He looked at the ring. This ring is one of the most expensive rings in the world. Kemi's eyes widened. Xavier. I know you don't care about its price. He looked back at her. And that is why I want you to have it. Kemi shook her head while crying. I don't need an expensive ring. I know. I don't need a big house. I know. I don't need your money. I know. He reached for her hand. But I need you. Kemi cried harder. Will you marry me? She stared at him. Her mind went back to the $50. The day Rita had sold her. The day she had believed nobody would ever choose her. And now the man in front of her was choosing her freely. Not because someone had forced him. Not because he needed a servant. Not because he wanted a wife for appearance. He wanted Kemi. Just Kemi. She slowly nodded. Yes. Xavier smiled. Yes. Yes. He stood up and placed the ring on her finger. It was too beautiful. Too perfect. But somehow it felt right. Kemi looked at it. Then she looked at him. I love you. Xavier pulled her gently into his arms. I love you too. They stayed there for a long time. Outside, the city continued moving. Cars passed. People walked. Lights flashed across Seoul. But inside that room, the world felt completely still. For the first time, Kemi understood something. Sometimes life could take something away from you only to lead you somewhere better. She had lost her parents. She had lost her home. She had been treated like she was worth only $50. But now she had found someone who saw her true value. And Xavier knew one thing for certain. He would spend the rest of his life reminding her. Rita was sitting in her living room when she received the news. At first, she did not believe it. Then she saw the photograph. Kemi was standing beside Xavier. She was wearing a beautiful dress. A large diamond ring was on her finger. Rita's eyes widened. That ring. She zoomed in on the picture. Her mouth opened. No. She searched Xavier's name. Her face changed. She found article after article. Xavier Lee. CEO. Business owner. Investor. One of the richest young men in South Korea. Rita slowly dropped her phone. The blind man. She whispered. The poor blind man. She suddenly remembered the day she had handed Kemi $50. She remembered laughing about it. She remembered thinking she had gotten rid of Kemi. Now her heart began to race. Kemi was not poor. Kemi was not living with a helpless man. Kemi was engaged to one of the richest men in the country. Rita stood up quickly. Her daughter, who was an adult now, walked into the room. Mom, what's wrong? Rita turned toward her. Your sister. What about her? She is going to marry Xavier Lee. Her daughter froze. The Xavier Lee? Rita nodded. The room became quiet. Then Rita smiled. A strange smile. We need to visit her. Her daughter frowned. Why? Because she is family. Mom, you haven't called her family in years. Rita looked at her. People change. Her daughter crossed her arms. You sold her for $50. Rita's smile disappeared. That was a mistake. You called her useless. I was angry. You made her work like a servant. Rita became silent. Then she picked up her handbag. That is the past. She walked toward the door. Now we need to make things right. But Rita was not going to Kemi's home because she suddenly understood love. She was going because she had finally discovered the value of the person she had treated badly. And Xavier already knew she would come. That was why he had prepared for it. The next afternoon, Rita arrived at Xavier's mansion. She wore an expensive-looking dress. She carried a large gift box. Her hair was carefully styled. She smiled at everyone she passed. When the door opened, she immediately changed her face into a warm smile. Kemi. Kemi stood there. She looked surprised. Rita? Rita opened her arms. My dear. Kemi stepped backward. Rita stopped. Can I hug you? Kemi did not answer. Rita forced a smile. I have missed you. Kemi looked at her carefully. You missed me. Of course. Rita walked inside. I was worried about you. Kemi almost laughed. Worried? Yes. Rita placed the gift box on the table. I brought you something. Kemi looked at it. What is it? A wedding gift. Kemi did not touch it. Thank you. Rita smiled. You deserve happiness. Then Xavier entered the room. Rita's face immediately became brighter. Mr. Lee. Xavier nodded politely. Rita. I am so happy for both of you. Thank you. Rita looked at Kemi. She is like my own daughter. Xavier's expression remained calm. But Kemi knew that look. He was listening carefully. Rita continued. I know we had our disagreements. Kemi looked down. But I only wanted what was best for her. Xavier looked at her. Is that why you sold her? The room became silent. Rita's smile disappeared. Kemi looked at Xavier. Rita swallowed. I made a mistake. Yes, Xavier said. You did. Rita forced another smile. But I am here now. Xavier nodded. You are. I want us to be a family again. Kemi's heart hurt. She wanted to believe her. Part of her still wanted the mother she had lost years ago. But another part remembered every lonely night. Every meal she had prepared while Rita's daughter sat comfortably. Every time she had been told she was a burden. Rita reached toward her. Kemi. Xavier gently stepped between them. Rita. His voice was calm, but firm. You are welcome to visit. Rita smiled. Thank you. But there are rules. Her smile faded. You will not ask Kemi for money. Rita nodded. Of course. You will not insult her. I would never. You will not pressure her. Never. And you will not make decisions for her. Rita became quiet. Xavier looked directly at her. Kemi is an adult woman. She makes her own choices. Rita nodded slowly. I understand. And if she ever tells you she wants space, you will respect it. Rita looked at Kemi. Kemi remained silent. Finally, Rita nodded. I will. Xavier stepped aside. Rita looked at Kemi again. I am sorry. Those words were quiet. They did not erase the past. But Kemi heard them. She took a deep breath. Thank you for saying that. Rita smiled. Can I come to the wedding? Kemi looked at Xavier. He did not answer for her. Instead, he waited. Kemi looked at Rita. I need time. Rita's smile became smaller. Of course. I understand. As she walked away, Xavier looked at Kemi. You did well. Kemi sighed. I don't know what I feel. You don't have to know today. She looked at him. What if she really wants to change? Then time will show us. Kemi nodded. Xavier kissed her forehead. You don't have to forgive someone just because they apologized. Kemi smiled softly. But I can choose peace. Yes. She looked toward the door. Maybe that is what I want. Xavier held her hand. Then that is what we will protect. Kemi smiled. The expensive ring on her finger caught the afternoon light. But she barely noticed it anymore. Because the greatest gift Xavier had given her was not the diamond. It was the freedom to choose. To choose where she lived. To choose who she loved. To choose whether she forgave. And, most importantly, to choose what kind of future she wanted. That evening, Xavier took her to the balcony. Seoul glittered below them. Kemi rested her head on his shoulder. "When is the wedding?" she asked. "Whenever you are ready." She smiled. "What if I want a small wedding?" "Then we have a small wedding." "What if I want flowers?" "We fill the whole place with flowers." "What if I want to wear something simple?" "You can." "What if I cry?" "I will cry with you." Kemi laughed. "You are too sweet." Xavier looked at her. "I am only sweet with you." She smiled. Then she looked at her ring. "Xavier." "Yes. Why did you choose this ring?" He looked at it. "Because it reminded me of you." "How?" "It shines even when nobody is looking." Kemi's eyes became wet. She leaned closer to him. "I love you." "I love you too." They watched the city together. Neither noticed the woman standing far away near the gate. Rita was still there, shamefully I must say. She had forgotten something inside. But when she looked up at the balcony and saw Kemi laughing in Xavier's arms, her expression changed. For the first time, she seemed to understand what she had lost. Not money. Not a rich son-in-law. Not a chance to live in a mansion. She had lost Kemi. And now, if she truly wanted her stepdaughter back in her life, she would have to earn her trust. Rita looked at the mansion one more time. Then she quietly walked away. Inside, Kemi had no idea what was coming next. She only knew that her wedding was getting closer. And Xavier had one more surprise planned for the woman he loved. A surprise connected to the painting of her mother. A surprise that would make Kemi question everything she thought she knew about her family's past. But this time, she would not face it alone. Xavier would be beside her. And together, they were about to open a door neither of them expected. The next morning, Kemi woke up to the sound of soft music. She opened her eyes and smiled. For a moment, she forgot where she was. Then she saw the diamond ring on her finger. She smiled again. "Xavier." There was no answer. She got out of bed and walked downstairs. The house was strangely quiet. She entered the living room and stopped. Hundreds of white roses filled the room. A long white cloth covered the dining table. On the table was a small breakfast. Beside it was a note. Kemi picked it up. "Meet me where we first watched the sunset." She smiled. She knew exactly where he meant. The Han River. She quickly got dressed and left. When she arrived, Xavier was standing near the river. He was wearing a simple black suit. No glasses. No cane. Just Xavier. The man she had fallen in love with. He turned when he heard her footsteps. "You came." "Of course." He smiled. "I have something to show you." He held out his hand. Kemi took it. They walked toward a small private garden near the river. There was a wooden door at the end. Xavier opened it. Kemi stepped inside. Her breath caught. Paintings covered the walls. Hundreds of them. But they were not expensive paintings. They were paintings of Kemi. Kemi cooking. Kemi laughing. Kemi reading. Kemi looking at the sky. Kemi painting flowers. Kemi sleeping peacefully on the couch. Kemi stared at them. He pointed toward the far wall. Kemi walked closer. There was one painting that looked very old. It showed her mother. Kemi's heart stopped. "My mother." Xavier nodded. "Yes." She touched the painting. "Where did you get this?" "My father." Kemi turned around. "Your father?" Xavier nodded. "My father knew your mother." Kemi stared at him. "What?" "My father met your mother many years ago." She could hardly breathe. What did he know about her? Xavier walked closer. "Your mother was a close friend of my family." Kemi's eyes filled with tears. "Why didn't anyone tell me?" "Because my father thought you were too young to understand." Kemi looked back at the painting. "What happened?" Xavier gently held her hand. "Your mother once helped my family when we were going through a difficult time." Kemi listened. "My father never forgot her kindness." He paused. "After she died, he kept the painting." Kemi covered her mouth. "So you knew my mother?" "No." Xavier shook his head. "But I knew how much she meant to my father." Kemi cried quietly. She had spent so many years thinking her mother's memory had disappeared. But it had not. Someone had remembered her. Someone had kept her picture safe. Someone had believed her kindness mattered. Kemi leaned against Xavier. "Thank you." "For what?" "For helping me find another piece of her." Xavier kissed her forehead. "She would be proud of you." Kemi cried harder. Then she smiled. I wish she could see us. Xavier smiled. Maybe she can. Kemi looked at him. You really believe that? I believe love doesn't disappear. Kemi nodded. She looked at the painting again. For the first time, remembering her mother did not hurt as much. It felt warm. Like coming home. The wedding day arrived a few weeks later. Kemi had chosen a simple white dress. It was beautiful. Elegant. Soft. There was no huge crown. No heavy jewelry. Only a small flower in her hair. And, of course, the diamond ring Xavier had given her. Xavier wore a black suit. Before the wedding began, he stood alone near the window. His father had once told him something. One day, you will meet someone who sees your heart before your wealth. Xavier had thought it was impossible. Then Kemi walked into his life. A woman who had nothing to offer him except kindness. And somehow, she had given him everything. The music began. Xavier turned. Kemi appeared at the end of the walkway. His eyes immediately filled with tears. She smiled at him. He whispered, "Beautiful." Kemi laughed softly. She walked toward him. When she reached him, he took both her hands. I was so afraid that day you came to my apartment. Kemi smiled. So was I. I thought you would leave when you learned the truth. I almost did. He looked worried. She laughed. But then I remembered something. What? You were the first person who ever asked me what I wanted. Xavier smiled. And what do you want? Kemi looked into his eyes. You. Xavier's eyes filled with tears. I want you too. They exchanged their vows. They promised to respect each other. To listen. To forgive. To laugh. To stay. Not because they were rich. Not because they were beautiful. But because they had chosen each other. When they finally exchanged rings, Kemi looked down at the diamond. She remembered the $50. A small smile appeared on her face. Xavier noticed. What are you thinking? She whispered. $50. He laughed. Please don't remind me. I was once sold for $50. He squeezed her hand. But now, Kemi looked at him. Now I know my worth. Xavier smiled. You were never worth $50. I know. You were never worth any amount of money. Kemi's eyes filled with tears. You are priceless. She smiled. So are you. Then they kissed gently as everyone applauded. Rita watched from her seat. She was quiet. She had not tried to take control of the wedding. She had not asked for money. She had not made demands. She had simply come. When the ceremony ended, Rita approached Kemi. Kemi looked at her. Rita's eyes were wet. You look beautiful. Thank you. Rita took a deep breath. I know an apology cannot erase everything. Kemi remained quiet. I hurt you. Rita swallowed. I made you feel like you were not important. Kemi looked down. And I was wrong. Rita's voice shook. You deserved a better mother. Kemi's eyes filled with tears. Rita continued. I cannot change yesterday. But if you allow me, I want to be better tomorrow. Kemi did not answer immediately. She looked at Xavier. He smiled gently. The choice was hers. Kemi looked back at Rita. I can't forget everything. I know. But I can forgive you. Rita began crying. Thank you. Kemi opened her arms. Rita hesitated. Then they hugged. It was not a perfect hug. It did not erase years of pain. But it was a beginning. And sometimes a beginning was enough. Months passed. Kemi and Xavier built a beautiful life together. Kemi opened an art studio. She taught people how to paint. She painted flowers. She painted rivers. She painted sunsets. But her favorite painting was always the same. Her mother's portrait. She placed it in the center of the studio. Under it, she wrote, Kindness is never wasted. Xavier supported her dream. He never told her what to paint. He never tried to control her life. He simply stood beside her. Sometimes he would sit in the studio and watch her work. One afternoon, Kemi looked at him. Are you still pretending to be blind? Xavier laughed. No. Good. Why? Because I want you to see my paintings. He smiled. I see you. Kemi walked toward him. And what do you see? The woman who changed my life. She smiled. And I see the man who taught me that I was never worthless." He kissed her forehead. They stood together in the middle of the studio. Sunlight entered through the windows. The painting of Kemi's mother stood quietly behind them. Kemi looked at it. "Mom," she whispered, "I think I finally found home." Xavier held her hand. "You did." She smiled. "With you. With me." Outside, Seoul was busy as always. Cars moved through the streets. People hurried to work. Children laughed in parks. Restaurants opened their doors. The city continued living. But inside that little art studio, two people stood together, grateful for the strange road that had brought them there. Kemi had once believed her story began with loss. She had been wrong. Her story had begun again the day she met Xavier. The $50 had not been the price of her life. It had been the beginning of a journey that showed her something far more valuable. Her worth had never depended on money. Her worth had always been inside her. And Xavier had never rescued her. He had simply helped her see what had been there all along. Her strength. Her kindness. Her courage. Her heart. Years later, whenever someone asked Kemi how she met her husband, she would smile. She would tell them about the rainy morning, the small suitcase, the $50, the poor blind man. Then she would laugh. That poor blind man was actually the richest man in Korea. Everyone would laugh. But Kemi would always add one thing. He wasn't the richest because of his money. She would look at Xavier. He was rich because he knew how to love. Xavier would squeeze her hand. And she would smile. Because sometimes life takes you down a road you never planned. Sometimes the door that closes feels like the end. Sometimes people make you feel small. But your value does not become smaller because someone fails to see it. Kemi learned that love should never feel like a cage. It should feel like freedom. It should make you feel safe enough to dream. And when the right person comes into your life, they will not ask you to become someone else. They will love the person you already are. Kemi had once been given a price. $50. But in the end, she discovered something no amount of money could ever buy. She discovered her own worth. She discovered forgiveness. She discovered home. And most importantly, she discovered love. The kind of love that does not ask, "What can you give me?" but simply says, "I choose you." And every evening, when the sun began to disappear over Seoul, Kemi and Xavier would stand together by the window. They would watch the sky turn pink and orange. Kemi would smile. Xavier would hold her hand. And they would remember the first sunset they shared. A sunset that had quietly promised them something neither had understood at the time. That even after the darkest day, a beautiful morning could still come. And this time, they were ready to welcome it together. Hey besties, if you enjoyed this story, please drop your thoughts in the comment section, share with friends and loved ones, and subscribe for more amazing stories to come.